and you paint that white and you stick a big SES logo on it, well, not only is it very obvious where it is, it's an obvious place to put your sign, which on the sign you have your plan on a page. All of that stuff is all concentrated in one place. And it also gives us a recognisable presence there in that community. So I think that's the sort of format for these things that would work exceptionally well. And we're not talking about lots of money in order to make that happen. Okay.
Anything else?
Oh yeah, I think the thing that's quite important is that once you've got one of these things up and running, you've got the community on board, they're leading it themselves, we're just providing them a little bit of information, we're providing them with updates on situations as they unfold. That's all fantastic. They've got their stash of gear, it's great. Where it will fall down is if it's not maintained. And the way to maintain it is to keep open two-way communication between the SES and that group, and to make sure that we visit them from time to time, check how they're going, and that once a year we facilitate an exercise for them. We facilitate that. I think it's important that we do that because they all need to be players. They can't facilitate the exercise themselves, they've got to be playing within the exercise. The other thing too is that allows us to get closer to them, to build that relationship. And if we don't have a close and trusting relationship with those communities, then the wheels aren't even on to begin with. It's not that they're going to fall off, they're just not on. So we've got to have that. And going through this process of setting up these groups, facilitating for them, running exercises for them, is helping us to maintain that trusting relationship. Very, very important.
I think we've got it.
So I think what I'd really like to come clear through this whole thing is that in the west of the state particularly, engaging with communities and building community resilience is the way of the future. We have a bit of rural decline going on in this part of the state, and if you look at the population predictions from the Department of Planning's crystal ball, it does show that there is a fair bit of population decline going on. The implications of that for us mean that the volunteering base that we can draw on is declining. And so with the best will in the world, we are never going to be able to build SES units the way we could build them in the past. We're not going to be able to find the kinds of people who are fit enough to be able to get into flood boats, to climb up on roofs, to wield chainsaws, all of that sort of stuff. We're just not going to be able to do it. So as a service, that has major implications for us. But having said all that, if we can encourage the communities themselves to be resilient, then we can certainly gear ourselves up to provide them with information, to make sure that they are coordinated in what they're doing, to listen to what they tell us, because we can get some really good situational awareness by listening to what people in the communities are telling us about what's going on out there. And we can also, when we need to throw in troops to actually come in and do stuff in a community, by listening to people, we know when we need it. We can plan for that. We can get those people from the East Coast perhaps, or from other population centres where we have a strong presence of SES volunteers that we can actually put in. So it seems to me that the only way really to fulfil what's required of us, what the government expects of us and what our communities expect of us, is to go this way, because we certainly can't do it if we just stick purely to the response paradigm.
Nice.
Get some buzzwords in there.
You did. I'm really trying to give some space to make it easy to cut.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, it's me slurping my tea.
Can't see it. I can't see it. No, can't see it.
No, that's all.
It's out of shot. All I've got from you is from just underneath your badge.
Yeah. No, that's all good.
Well, we've hit resilience, we've hit east-west, we've hit the group, we've talked about CLP.
Yeah, in resourcing it, you know, I think having one CEC shared across two very large geographic regions means we can really only scratch the surface of it. did during Quinty last year, the effort that went into that was far in excess of what's actually needed to set one of these things up. But that was fair enough because it was a learning exercise. But having learned that, the next one will probably take half of the time and effort that was involved in that, because the lessons that you learned there have been learned now. But it's still not enough. One person for that, I'm just looking at the map here, vast geographic area. There are, if you just look at the major population centres, there are at least 35 of those, and all of those are surrounded by a small number of rural communities, and those small rural communities are what we're talking about here with the community safety groups. It's not doable. It's not doable. Sure, we can actually lead it with full-time paid staff. We can lead it that way. But I do think it's important that SES volunteers, full-time SES volunteers, as opposed to those occasional volunteers who turn up and help out when there's something going on. Full-time SES volunteers have got to be involved in this as well. They live in those communities. People naturally look to them because they know they're members of the service. But it's incumbent on us, that is to say, the service as it stands today, to make sure that our volunteers and our staff members are really across this and understand it and buy into it and really get the importance of it. So not everyone out there is going to want to be actively involved in it, but our local controllers certainly need to be. And our unit controllers need to be aware of it and able to work with those community volunteers who are out there in the community safety groups, but not necessarily formal members of the service. They become an integral part of what we do when we've got something going on. I think that's critically important.
Do you want me to keep going?
No, that's fine. I do think